The containment chamber pulsed with an eerie blue glow, casting rippling shadows across the metallic walls of the Dravik warship. Inside the transparent cylinder, suspended in luminescent fluid, floated what appeared to be a woman. Her skin translucent, hair flowing like liquid silver, eyes closed in eternal sleep. Yet she wasn't sleeping, and she certainly wasn't human. Tubes and cables pierced her delicate body, drawing away streams of radiant energy that flowed through conduits into the ship's core. With each pulse, the lights in the chamber flickered brighter, and somewhere deep in the vessel, engines roared with renewed power. This was Alara, the last of the Lumini energy beings from the distant Cygnus Nebula. To the Dravik, she was simply Battery Unit Alpha 9. Captain Marcus Drake pressed himself against the shadowed corridor, breath held tight in his lungs. His stealth suit's adaptive camouflage shifted to match the gunmetal walls, but it wouldn't fool the Dravik's thermal sensors for long. The Earth Alliance had sent him to discover how the reptilian Dravik had suddenly gained enough power to fuel their massive fleet. Now he had his answer, and it sickened him. "Throne room is clear," came the whispered voice of Lieutenant Vex in his earpiece. "You've got 8 minutes before the Emperor returns." Marcus slipped into the chamber, his eyes fixed on the suspended figure. "Command, are you seeing this?" he subvocalized, his neural implant transmitting visuals back to the Alliance vessel hidden in the asteroid belt. "Affirmative, Drake," Admiral Cora's voice was tight with shock. "Is it alive?" "Scanning now." Marcus approached the cylinder, placing a palm-sized device against the glass. Data streamed across his retinal display. "Life signs confirmed, but they're strange. It's not biological, at least not entirely. The energy readings are off the charts." A soft moan echoed through the chamber, so faint Marcus thought he'd imagined it. Then the figure's eyes opened, iridescent orbs that seemed to contain galaxies within their depths. She saw him. "Gods," Marcus breathed, unable to look away as those cosmic eyes fixed on his. Pain reflected in their depths, alongside something else, recognition, impossible, yet he felt a connection form like an electrical circuit completing. "Get out of there, Drake," the Admiral ordered. "You've got what we came for." Marcus hesitated. "We can't leave her." That wasn't the mission. Extraction now. The being's lips moved, forming words without sound. Marcus stepped closer, straining to understand. "Help me." The voice manifested not in the air but directly in his mind, a whisper that made his skull vibrate. Alarms suddenly blared through the vessel. "Drake, you've been detected," Vex shouted over the comm. The figure in the tank pressed a ghostly hand against the glass, her expression desperate. Again, that voice in his mind, "Free me before they come." Marcus's training told him to retreat. His orders were clear, gather intelligence only. Yet something about those eyes, the unmistakable suffering. He'd joined the Alliance to protect the innocent, not abandon them. "Command, I'm altering the mission parameters." He unholstered his pulse pistol. "Drake, do not engage. That's an order." Marcus disabled his comm with a thought. "I'm getting you out," he told the captive, unsure if she could understand him. He aimed at the control panel governing the tank's systems. Heavy footsteps pounded down the corridor, Dravik guards responding to the alarm. He had seconds, no more. The door to the chamber slid open, revealing the scaled face of a Dravik commander, yellow eyes widening at the sight of the human intruder. Marcus fired 3 rapid shots. The control panel exploded in a shower of sparks, and the blue fluid began draining from the tank. The tubes connected to the being's body detached automatically as emergency protocols engaged. The Dravik commander lunged forward, drawing his energy blade. Marcus rolled aside, coming up in a firing stance. Their eyes locked in mutual hatred, one defending his prize, the other determined to free it. As they clashed, neither noticed the tank opening, nor the glowing figure rising from within. Her first sensation of freedom came as her bare feet touched the cold floor. Her second was the raw power surging through her newly unshackled form. The chamber exploded with light, and Marcus's world went white. The blinding light subsided, leaving Marcus blinking away spots from his vision. Where the Dravik commander had stood seconds ago, only a scorch mark remained on the polished floor. The being, Alara, swayed unsteadily, her luminescent form flickering like a candle in a draft. "Can you walk?" Marcus asked, holstering his weapon and approaching her cautiously. Ilara regarded him with those cosmic eyes, confusion evident in her expression. When she tried to step forward, her legs buckled. Marcus lunged, catching her before she hit the floor. Her body felt simultaneously substantial and ethereal in his arms, like holding solidified light. "Too long, in the chamber," she communicated directly to his mind, her mental voice weak but clearer than before. "They've drained me for cycles upon cycles." The ship lurched violently, throwing them against the wall. Emergency klaxons blared throughout the vessel. "Captain Drake," Lieutenant Vex's voice crackled through his reactivated comm. "Whatever you did just took out half the ship's systems. The Dravik are scrambling fighters. Our extraction window is closing fast." Marcus lifted Ilara into his arms. "I've got a passenger. Prepare the medical bay." What, Drake, you can't?" "Already done. Meet at extraction point Bravo." Marcus navigated through corridors now bathed in red emergency lighting, Ilara's glow providing additional illumination. Twice they encountered Dravik patrols, but each time, Ilara's presence seemed to disrupt the aliens' energy weapons, rendering them useless long enough for Marcus to dispatch them with his tactical blade. "You're protecting their enemy," Ilara observed, watching him with curious intensity. "I'm protecting a person who was being tortured," Marcus corrected, ducking into a maintenance shaft. "That's reason enough." They reached a narrow hangar bay where Vex waited in a stolen Dravik shuttle, engines already warming. The lieutenant's eyes widened at the sight of the glowing woman in Marcus's arms. "By the void," Vex breathed. "That's what they've been hiding." "Get us out of here," Marcus ordered, securing Ilara in a jump seat. "The Dravik fleet will be on full alert." As the shuttle launched into space, Ilara placed a hand on the vessel's control panel. Instantly, the engines surged with power, acceleration pushing them back into their seats as they outpaced the pursuing Dravik fighters. "How did you?" Marcus began. "Energy is my essence," Ilara explained, though her form dimmed with the effort. "But I've given you all I can spare." As they rendezvoused with the waiting Alliance vessel, the nomad Marcus watched Ilara's fascination with the stars visible through the viewport, stars she had been denied for so long. When her luminous fingers entwined with his, he felt a current pass between them, a connection forming that transcended physical touch. "Thank you," she whispered directly into his mind, "for seeing me as more than a power source." For the first time in his career, Marcus had violated direct orders, risked his team, and potentially started an interstellar incident. Yet looking at Ilara's face, alive with wonder at her newfound freedom, he couldn't bring himself to regret a single decision. The Alliance outpost on Europa was a study in utilitarian design, all reinforced bunkers and subterranean facilities built to withstand Jupiter's radiation storms. For Marcus, it had always felt suffocatingly sterile. But through Ilara's eyes, it became a marvel of human ingenuity. "Your people build these structures from inert materials," she observed, her fingertips tracing the curved wall of the observation dome. "My kind shaped living energy into our dwellings. They responded to our moods, our needs." "Your homeworld sounds beautiful," Marcus said, watching her with growing fascination. 3 weeks since their escape, and Ilara's physical form had stabilized. No longer flickering or transparent, she now appeared almost human, if one overlooked the subtle luminescence of her skin and the impossible depth of her eyes. Dr. Isabel Frost, the outpost's chief xenobiologist, approached with tablet in hand. "Ilara's energy patterns are unlike anything in our databases," she reported. "The Dravik weren't just using her as a battery, they were using her as a translator between different forms of energy. That's how they powered weapons that should have been theoretically impossible." "Can she recover fully?" Marcus asked, his concern evident. "I'm right here," Ilara reminded them with a gentle smile. "And yes, Captain Drake, I am healing slowly." When Dr. Frost departed, Ilara moved closer to Marcus. In the 3 weeks since her rescue, they had rarely been apart. She had insisted that his presence stabilized her energy patterns, a claim Dr. Frost's instruments confirmed, but Marcus suspected there was more to it than mere biology. "You're troubled," Ilara observed, her perception cutting through his professional demeanor. Marcus nodded toward the command center visible through a transparent partition. Inside, Admiral Cora gesticulated forcefully at a holographic display of Dravik fleet movements. "The Dravik have attacked 3 mining colonies since your escape," he explained. "They're claiming we stole their property and demanding your return." Alara's light dimmed slightly. "They see me as a weapon, not a being with rights." "The Alliance doesn't recognize sentient beings as property," Marcus assured her, taking her hand instinctively. A pleasant warmth spread up his arm at the contact. "But we're significantly outgunned without your contributions to their fleet." "I could feel them, you know," Alara said quietly. "Every ship, every weapon that fired using my energy, I felt their destruction as if I had caused it myself." Her fingers tightened around his. "I cannot be that again, not even for those who saved me." That night, alarms tore through the outpost. A Dravik strike force had bypassed the outpost's early warning systems. Marcus rushed to Alara's quarters, finding her standing before the viewport, her form glowing brighter than he'd ever seen. "They've come for me," she stated without turning. "Let them try," Marcus replied, drawing his sidearm. When Alara finally faced him, the cosmic swirl in her eyes had intensified. "I've been practicing," she said, raising a hand that now crackled with contained energy, "learning to control what they tried to harness." As the first Dravik boarding parties breached the outpost's outer defenses, Marcus witnessed the transformation. Alara, once victim, now avenger, strode confidently toward the breach point, energy coalescing around her like armor. He followed, weapon ready, though something told him she would need no protection. The first Dravik soldiers rounded the corner, energy weapons raised. Alara merely gestured, and the weapons overloaded in their hands. As the aliens recoiled in pain and surprise, she looked back at Marcus with an expression both fierce and vulnerable. "I won't be their weapon," she declared, "but I will be your shield." The Alliance Council chamber buzzed with tense voices as the holographic display showed yet another colony falling to the Dravik advance. Marcus stood at attention, his testimony complete, while Alara observed from a specially constructed containment field, not to imprison her, but to prevent her still fluctuating energy from interfering with the station systems. "The Dravik Emperor has made his position clear," Admiral Cora announced, silencing the chamber. "Either we return the energy being, or they continue their campaign against our outer colonies." "I have a name," Alara interjected, her voice resonating strangely through the speakers. "And I am not returning to captivity." The council members exchanged uncomfortable glances. They had accepted her sentience, her right to freedom, but weighing one life against thousands proved challenging, even for the idealistic Alliance. "There is another option," Marcus stepped forward. "We know the Dravik fleet is vulnerable without their primary power source. Their remaining ships are running on conventional energy, which makes them slower, weaker." "You propose a military solution, Captain?" a council member asked skeptically. "I propose we stop running," Marcus replied. "Alara has been developing control over her abilities. With her help, we can disable their ships without destroying them, demonstrate that we can neutralize their advantage without bloodshed." Hours later, alone in the observation lounge, Marcus found Alara staring at the swirling gas giants visible through the reinforced viewport. Her containment field had been temporarily deactivated, allowing her freedom within the secured section. "They fear me," she said without turning, "as they should." Marcus approached, standing beside her. "They fear what they don't understand. I did too at first." "And now," she turned, her luminous eyes searching his face. "Now I see you," he answered simply. The distance between them vanished as Alara moved closer, her hand rising to touch his face. Where their skin met, a gentle current passed between them, not painful but intensely intimate, as if some part of her energy merged with his very being. "My people rarely formed bonds with corporeal beings," she whispered. "But since my freedom, since you, I felt something new growing within me, something beyond energy and matter." Marcus drew her closer, his professional reserve finally crumbling before the connection that had been building since that first moment in the Dravik chamber. "I've never encountered anyone like you, human or otherwise." Their kiss illuminated the darkened lounge, Alara's natural luminescence flaring with emotion. In that moment, species and physics seemed irrelevant. They were simply two beings finding solace amidst chaos. The tactical briefing the following day laid out their audacious plan. The Alliance would engage the Dravik fleet near the Ceres asteroid field, drawing them into a prearranged position. Alara, accompanied by Marcus and a special operations team, would infiltrate the Dravik flagship using a captured shuttle. Once aboard, Marcus explained to the assembled commanders, Elara can interface with their systems, not to power them, but to create an energy surge that will temporarily disable their fleet. And if this fails, Admiral Cora asked bluntly. Marcus and Elara exchanged glances. Then we won't live to report our failure, he answered. As they prepared to board the stealth shuttle, Elara took Marcus's hand, her touch sending that now familiar current through his body. Whatever happens, she said, her mental voice resonating directly in his mind, you've already given me more than freedom. You've shown me what it means to be truly alive. The Dravik flagship loomed before them, its obsidian hull absorbing light rather than reflecting it. Through the shuttle viewport, Marcus watched as Elara's expression hardened at the sight of her former prison. Their emperor will be in the central chamber, she said, her voice unnaturally calm. He personally oversaw my harvesting. The infiltration proceeded with surprising ease. Elara's presence confused the Dravik sensors, creating a blind spot large enough for their shuttle to slip through the defensive screen. Once aboard, she led them unerringly through service corridors, avoiding patrols with an intuitive sense of the ship's rhythms. You remember it all, Marcus observed as they paused at a junction. Every moment of captivity burns in my memory, she confirmed. But now those memories serve a purpose. They reached the massive power core, the heart of the vessel, and the site of Elara's long imprisonment. The chamber now stood empty, the containment cylinder dark without its luminous occupant. Lieutenant Vex and his team secured the entrances while Elara approached the central console. This is where they first brought me, she said quietly, where they discovered how to harness my essence. Her hands hovered over the control surfaces, light emanating from her fingertips. I can feel the ship's systems recognizing me, hungry for my energy. Marcus positioned himself at her side, pulse rifle ready. Remember, we just need to disable their fleet, not destroy it. The Alliance wants to force negotiation, not annihilation. Elara nodded, but a troubling intensity had entered her eyes, stars colliding in those cosmic depths. I lived 1,000 years before the Dravik captured me, Marcus. I've seen civilizations rise and fall. Some deserve a second chance. Her voice hardened. Others do not. Before Marcus could respond, the chamber doors slid open. Emperor Kravnar entered, flanked by elite guards. The massive reptilian ruler stopped short at the sight of his former captive standing free before the controls. The energy vessel, he hissed, yellow eyes widening. Return to your containment immediately, and these humans may live. Elara's form began to pulse with increasing brightness. I am Elara of the Lumini, last survivor of the Cygnus Nebula. I am not your vessel, your weapon, or your power source. Energy crackled around her, building with each word. Marcus felt the hair on his arms rising from the electrical charge permeating the chamber. Elara, he cautioned, recognizing the dangerous power gathering around her. Remember our plan. The Emperor laughed, a grating sound. Your human cannot help you now. Your kind exists to serve the superior species. It is the natural order. Something snapped in Elara's expression. The controlled energy surrounding her suddenly erupted outward in a blinding wave. Marcus and the Alliance team were somehow shielded, but the Dravik guards collapsed instantly. Only the Emperor remained standing, protected by some personal energy field. You would destroy all I've built, Kravnar snarled, drawing a ceremonial blade. I elevated you from meaningless existence to glorious purpose. You enslaved me, Elara corrected, advancing toward him. And now you will understand what that truly means. She reached out, not physically touching the Emperor, but connecting to the energy field protecting him. As their energies merged, his eyes widened in terror. Feel it, she whispered. Every moment of pain, every ounce of energy drained, every silent scream, feel it all. The Emperor fell to his knees, reptilian features contorted in agony. Throughout the ship, systems began to fail as Elara's influence spread from the core outward, jumping from vessel to vessel throughout the connected Dravik fleet. Elara, that's enough, Marcus urged, approaching her glowing form cautiously. You've won, they're defeated. For a terrible moment, the being of energy seemed beyond reach, consumed by righteous vengeance. Then her eyes found his, and recognition filtered through the cosmic fury. Marcus, she whispered, her form slowly dimming to its normal luminescence. I almost became what they wanted, a weapon. The Emperor lay unconscious but alive, his fleet disabled but intact. Across the view screens, Alliance vessels moved in to secure the drifting Dravik ships. Hours later, aboard the Alliance flagship, Marcus found Alara in the observation deck, watching as the combined fleet prepared for the journey back to Alliance space. The Dravik Emperor had formally surrendered, agreeing to reparations and recognition of all sentient beings' autonomy, including energy-based life forms. "What will you do now?" Marcus asked, joining her at the viewport. "The Alliance has offered you asylum, but I know that might not be enough for someone who once traveled among the stars." Alara turned to him, her form now stable and controlled, the wild energy contained but not diminished. "For millennia, I drifted through the cosmos alone, observing but never connecting. Then I was captured, enslaved, reduced to a power source." Her hand found his, that familiar current flowing between them. "But through that darkness, I found something unexpected." "What's that?" Marcus asked, though something in his expression suggested he already knew the answer. "A reason to stay in one place," she replied simply. "The universe is vast and endless, but connection, true connection, is infinitely rarer and more precious." As her luminous form leaned against his solid one, Marcus realized they were both fundamentally transformed by their encounter. She had found her humanity. He had glimpsed the cosmos. Neither would ever be the same, and neither would ever again be alone. Beyond the viewport, stars beckoned with ancient light. No longer her prison, no longer his unfathomable frontier, but a shared expanse of possibilities.